Today, it's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? A very happy Monday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us on the FMAM Dial KSHP, the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. We're everywhere, Twitch. And we're so glad you've made us a part of your day. Check out my website, by the way, ptlradio.com. Also, my personal YouTube page, which is at ptlradioshow.com. And oh, boy, we have a lot to get to today. Day 5 of the hush money trial. And we're learning some very new revelations that might not be so good for Donald Trump, at least the opening statements by the prosecution, stuff that I didn't know of. Maybe others did, but I didn't know of it. We're certainly going to get to that as we start the show today. Hour number 2, we got Dan Duva, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs in action. The Knights in action on the road against Dallas in Game 1. Talk an NBA gambling scandal. Where an NBA player will never be allowed to play in the NBA ever again because of that. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show as well. And some good news for you people out there, maybe some bad news for some of you. My interview with Dr. Peter McCullough, the anti-vaxxer, definitely went viral, and a lot of people enjoyed the interview. Some people liked it. Some people didn't like it. But tomorrow on the show, we're going to have the head of epidemiology from UNLV, Brian Labus. Is going to be joining us, debunking some of the stuff that Peter McCullough said. So that's going to be very interesting tomorrow on the show. And we have some other special guests joining us throughout the remainder of the week. Speaking of special guests, yes, it is Monday. And our 2 guests joining us are the official liberal of the PTL radio show, Chris Wynn, joining us in studio. And, of course, the big fellow, the NBA vet. Of course, I'm talking about Paul McKeskey. Unbiased Paul McKeskey joining us in studio
Brian,
as well.
I polled 10 people the other day, and they said I'm the best player in the 80s in the NBA.
Well, that must mean you were.
Them. Yeah, so
you polled them.
Yeah.
So that must be
most
true.
of them were my family members, but hey, it's a poll.
Yeah. Widespread evidence that Mo was one of the best, if not the best NBA player in the 80s.
Yeah, people say. People say that.
If people say it, it must be true. I said it. It must be true. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. Opening statements. This is unprecedented territory. Day 5 of the Donald Trump hush money trial, guys. I want to get your thoughts on this. And thank you both for being here. The first witness that took the stand, Judge Juan Merchant, delivered instructions to the jury, and David Pecker, during his testimony, described his job at the time as the former chairman of the National Enquirer's parent company. Pecker told the jury about his role in the parent company and any big stories involving celebrities. He has been granted immunity in exchange for his testimony in the parent company. What we are learning already in opening statements is that of just a few months after Donald Trump announced that he was running for president, that they were in a grand scheme to keep this story with Stormy Daniels quiet, and Donald Trump was willing to do anything and everything to keep it from the general public. And besides guys like Pecker that are going to be testifying, and Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels and McDougal, I mean, the list is endless. And the defense by Trump's team is, of course, I didn't do anything wrong. And Trump was claiming outside the courtroom that he's innocent because he didn't take tax deductions on paying back Michael Cohen for the Stormy Daniels hush money. I'm sure this is his defense on all this stuff. What do you guys make of this?
Well, first of all, if you were going to claim tax deductions on a payoff, that's not very smart anyway. I think he's a little smart of that. But, the Cohen and Mr. Pecker were in the room when they came up with this supposed scheme. And it wasn't just the Stormy Daniels case. It was all cases that might come up that, that we're going to play down the negative, we're going to build up the positive, and we're going to play up the negative of other candidates, thus the election interference part of this whole thing.
And a big part of this, of course, is intent, right? That's what's trying to be brought to the forefront here is exactly what was the purpose of not only Donald Trump, but obviously the Trump campaign as well, too. but obviously specifically Donald Trump because he's the one that's actually on trial right now for this situation. It's been a running narrative that we've been talking about till we've been blue in the face, Brian Shapiro, and it's flat out a situation where it's there's been everybody that's involved with Donald Trump, not everybody, but a large number of people have had to face consequences for steps that they took basically in defense of Donald Trump. And now this is finally one situation where the guy who's actually the center of the entire thing is actually possibly going to have to face consequences with respect to this. In this case, obviously, with the hush money payment to a porn star, for the purpose to, circumvent an election, basically, is what took place. And so, therefore, hopefully this is something that gets the ball rolling towards Donald J. Trump actually having to face consequences.
And by the way, there's going to be a hearing tomorrow in court on whether Donald Trump violated the gag order. That's going to be 9:30 Eastern time tomorrow. The jury is set to return at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And it's the same thing from Donald Trump, attacking Michael Cohen. By the way, I thought that Donald Trump only hired the best, right? Didn't he say that over and over again? And meanwhile, this was his personal attorney who now is going to be testifying against him. The judge ruled that he will also allow Trump to be asked about the civil fraud case involving E. Jean Carroll verdicts. That is also not a good thing for Donald Trump. Now, why the prosecution is going to bring that up, we'll have to wait and see. But David Pecker, again, is the ex-publisher of the National Enquirer, and that testimony will again resume tomorrow. He was the central player in this alleged hush money scheme to suppress negative information about Trump before the 2016 election. And during opening statements, prosecutors said the case is about a criminal conspiracy and a cover-up as the defense tried to discredit their points and, in my estimation, didn't do a very good job of it. This is bad for Donald Trump for a number of different reasons. I don't think it's really bad for him when it comes to the election, and here's why I say that, and some people might disagree with me on that. By this point, you've made up your mind. I can't find any person that could possibly say at this point, geez, I don't know if I'm going to vote for Donald Trump or not because I got to see what happens in this hush money case. No, people have already made up their mind. They're either voting for Donald Trump or they're not. So I don't think this necessarily hurts him come the November elections. He's not going to go to jail for this, whether he's a convicted felon or not. I think it hurts them just from a standpoint of embarrassment. I mean, the guy's going to get embarrassed. McDougal's going to get up there testifying. Stormy Daniels is going to be up there testifying. His former attorney, Michael Cohen's going to be up there testifying. We're going to learn about these hush money payments. We're going to learn about how they conspired to withhold information. I think that is the definition of election interference. We're going to see if he broke campaign finance violations. So it's certainly at a minimum a big embarrassment. There is some criminality involved here, and we'll see if he's found guilty. I don't know if this hurts him in November or not.
I absolutely do, Brian. I disagree with you completely, and this is why. And Mo, I got to get your take on this too. The reason why it will hurt him in November is because there'll be an erosion situation that goes on for the next 4, 5, 6 months, right? And this is not the only trial that's going to be taking place until November. So it's not just about, yes, I agree with you. There's MAGA out there and people like that aren't changing their vote regardless, okay? They've already made statements on the record where they've said, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's convicted. I'm still going to vote for him, right? So, yes, there is MAGA people out there, and there's millions of you out there that are MAGA and on the right. But there's people out there, Brian Shapiro, and you can tend to be an independent, okay? There's people out there that are independents and that are undecideds, and there's millions of them, too, that are going to notice this quote-unquote erosion over the next 5, 6 months, and it's going to absolutely have an impact. So there's no question in my mind, and I think it's a factually accurate statement to say that there is going to be some type of ramifications for Donald J. Trump because of these trials going on leading up into the election.
And obviously it won't be to his base because they question him. He wants to be a dictator. Is that okay? Sure, it's okay if he wants to be a dictator.
Yeah. They don't care.
But the thing that I think will affect people that I'm an independent also,
right.
Most people think that he did all these wrong things. But here's the thing: when Cohen gets on the stand, he's a convicted liar, right? Mm-hmm. But they don't just have him; they have evidence, emails, text,
right.
Exactly.
bank statements,
I'm not
all
saying,
that to back up. So
I'm not saying,
so that's going to lead to it, Brian.
So I'm not saying that there's no guilt here. I think he will be a convicted felon. All I'm simply saying is I think you'd be hard pressed to find people out there in this country that haven't already made up their mind. And if whatever happens in this case, somehow that's going to sway their vote.
What if it sways them to vote?
You don't think
for
independents
Kennedy?
haven't made up their mind?
I think most of them
or
have.
could be okay.
I think
Okay,
most
so
of them
then.
have.
Well, yeah. So then we don't really know. Then what are we saying then?
What
are we saying?
What if it sways them to vote
Yeah.
for Kennedy instead?
They're not going to vote for Trump. Then is what you're saying.
Maybe.
So you're saying independents have already
Well-
made their mind and they're not going to vote for Trump. So he's already
No,
screwed.
I
Or-
did not say that. I think there are people out there that have already made up their mind in both directions, and I don't think this hush money case is going to change their minds, whether it's negative or positive for Donald Trump. That's what I've said. But let me go back to prosecutor Matthew Colangelo, because in statements earlier today, Colangelo said in the courtroom that the Trump-Cohen-Pecker conspiracy began a few months after Donald Trump announced his candidacy at a meeting between Trump, David Pecker, and Michael Cohen at Trump Tower back in August of 2015. This means that Pecker and Cohen will obviously both be testifying to this. Prosecutors also said that they formed a conspiracy at that meeting to influence the presidential election by concealing negative information about Donald Trump in order to help him get elected. Trump then allegedly falsified dozens of business records to cover up this conspiracy. If you falsify business records to cover up a conspiracy, to me, that is the definition of election interference. But yet, if you talk to many of these people on the far right, they'll just go after Bragg. And let me go a little bit further here. For the people out there that say this is all political, that this is all Bragg, and this is all political, I will say this. Both can be true. If people want to make the argument that Bragg is doing this for political purposes, and you want to give them that, which, by the way, I'm not saying that's the case, but if it's the case, both can be true. Bragg could be doing this partially for political purposes, and Trump could be a criminal, and these could be legit charges. Both could be true at the same time. So these people on the far right that are saying, oh, this is all a two-tier justice system, and Bragg is doing this for political purposes. Okay, my response to that is maybe you shouldn't break the law. Maybe if you don't break the law, then maybe Bragg doesn't go after Donald Trump. So, I mean, that's the point that I'm making on this whole thing. What do I think is going to happen? I think the next couple weeks are going to be very, very interesting. We're going to be hearing from reporters inside the courtroom this week. We are going to be hearing from legal experts giving their take on this whole situation. I don't think this is good for Trump. Even if he's found innocent of all charges, which I don't think is going to happen, the testimony is going to be extremely embarrassing at a minimum. You got Stormy Daniels up there testifying. You're going to have McDougal up there testifying. He paid her $150,000 in hush money. So, I mean, I don't think there's any positives here for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and you know what's really scary, Brian and Chris? That you can't vote if you're a convicted felon, but you can be president of the United States of America if you're a felon. That's scary because our forefathers never thought in their mind that that would happen.
Right.
And here's the other thing. I watched it this morning, and Trump does his his little press conference before he gets in, and he was talking about his payout of he had to put up $167 million, whatever that was. He's complaining about that, and the one thing he said really, I got lots of money. Lots of money. Then why are you selling $60 Bibles and $400 crappy gold tennis shoes? If you have lots of money, why are you doing that?
It's because he's a liar. That's why.
Brian, let me address what you just said, though, regarding, let's give them that when it comes to, okay, is this something that could possibly be political? Let me just pose a little question to you guys out there and to all the, PTL Nation out there. Okay, so if it's a scenario that plays out where you have people that work in the legal profession, right, that are in the Justice Department or whatever, that take their politics into the courtroom or into their decisions to indict somebody, all right, then how come? Answer me this question. How come there has been no other president, on either side of the aisle that has been indicted for crimes on this level in any way, shape, or form in modern political history? The answer is because it's not. Because they don't bring their politics into it. It's about the law. It's about justice. It's about law and order, okay? And so all you MAGA people out there that bitch and moan and complain and say, well, it's just these prosecutors that are a bunch of lefty Democrats that want to go after Donald Trump. Why is it Donald Trump's the only one? Why is it? All right, since what? Richard Nixon, I think maybe had some charges, right? Maybe Richard Nixon was brought up. I can't remember exactly the scenario, but there's been no other president ever in the history of the country, regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, that's been brought up in charges. It's so infuriating to me. People bringing up this point because it's complete BS. Okay, there is not scenarios that play out like this with other presidents, okay? It's only with Donald J. Trump. So spare me your garbage nonsense about this is only because it's a bunch of lefties going after Donald Trump. It's utterly ridiculous and absurd.
Yeah, I mean, and from my perspective, I'm not giving it, to Republicans and saying that that's the case. All I'm saying is that's the argument that a lot of them make, and all I'm simply saying is even if that was true, and I'm not saying it is, but even if it was true, two can be right. If you want to make the claim that, well, Bragg, this is politically motivated, even if it was.
We can make the claim, but it's not right.
Even if it was.
It's wrong.
The point I'm trying to make is even if it was politically motivated, two can be right, and Donald Trump still could be convicted of crimes that he committed. Don't break the law. And he's lying outside the courtroom, and I'm not going to play that audio. I was thinking last night, should I even, play the audio when he speaks outside the courtroom? I'm not going to play it because he's a bumbling fool, and it just gets tiresome. Yeah. But I do want to bring.
Yes, it does.
I do want to bring this quickly to local and national politics, and we're going to continue to talk about Trump trial day 5, and we'll take some phone calls coming back from break. But there's a local politician who's running for Congress, and her name is Elizabeth Helgeline. You might have heard of her. And over the weekend, a lot of people on the far right are talking about the Biden administration's attack on women and our children, and Title V and all this other stuff, right? So she's someone who's running for Congress as a Republican, and she goes on Twitter, and here's what she says. She says, as a woman, former athlete, and mother of 2 young women, I'm outraged at the Biden administration's attack on women and our children. His radical overhaul of Title V is more than just a policy shift. It's a direct attack on the safety and rights of our daughters and an affront to the progress women have fought hard to achieve. I will always fight to protect women and children. On June 11th, vote for me. Let's hear from Elizabeth. Here's a little bit more about what she had to say about the Biden administration and protecting women.
I'm Elizabeth Helgeline, Trump Republican for Congress. As a woman, former athlete, and mother of 2 young women, I'm outraged at the Biden administration's attack on women and children. They are destroying our families and putting our children in harm's way. First, by attempting to normalize the sexualization and grooming of our children in government schools and sports. And now, redefining sex to mean gender identity, which will open up the doors to males having access and free reign to the girls' locker room, bathrooms, and safe spaces, as well as take away opportunities for our females. I will always fight to protect our women and children. On June 11th, please vote for me, Elizabeth Helgeline for Congress.
All right. So did you know that Joe Biden is grooming our kids? I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
He and the cabal.
Yeah, the cabal.
They meet every Sunday.
So she's a microcosm of so many other Republicans that are either already in office or running for office. Now, meanwhile, I just want to remind everybody, if you're talking about protecting women, Donald Trump is responsible for the overturning of Roe versus Wade and these laws that were put in place, not just in Alabama, but in Arizona, where a woman, God forbid, a young child or any type of female is raped or the victim of incest, they should be forced to have that rape child. And Kristi Noem, governor of, South Dakota, doubled down on CNN yesterday, saying that she believes, it's unfortunate is the word she used, if a woman is raped, but let's not make it doubly as bad, and let's make sure that young girl or woman has that raped baby. It's so ridiculous. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, because Elizabeth Helgeline then goes into her short little diatribe about God. Keep in mind, this is a MAGA supporter, a staunch MAGA supporter, right. And they always talk about the Bible and they always talk about religion. By the way, you can buy a Bible for $60.
No, yeah, you can get it for free if you just look on the internet.
That is true. So here's
or
Elizabeth.
you walk into a hotel room, right, Mo?
Yep.
So Elizabeth is, keep in mind, a huge Donald Trump supporter, and here's Elizabeth talking about God.
I want to share today's Bible verse with you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. All right, everyone, have a great week, and remember to put on the full armor of God daily.
And I'm the biggest supporter of Donald Trump, the liable rapist. I'm the biggest supporter of a guy that's 26 women have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife. That's my guy who puts on that 5 layers of orange makeup and attacks POWs and attacks women on looks. And as a child with all of his ex-wives, who buries his ex-wife on the first hole of his golf course so he could save money for taxes, he calls our brave men and women suckers and losers, goes after Gold Star families, says Mexicans are rapists and bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people, but good old Elizabeth is preaching God and talking about the Bible. He's my guy. I'm MAGA 110%. These people are some of the biggest frickin' hypocrites in the world, and she's a complete classless idiot. She's an idiot. You talk about the Bible, you talk about religion, and you support the man who's liable for sexual battery in a courtroom where the judge characterized it as rape. Are you kidding me?
And he's also on video saying how he grabs women because he's
Yeah.
famous and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's protecting women because, you got to grab them to protect them.
Of course, yeah.
It's
exactly.
ridiculous.
Brian, what's the magic word that you use on the show every day? Mo, what's the magic word? It's called hypocrisy. That's exactly what this is. There are numerous examples of this woman who I don't know, okay, apparently is running for office and probably will not win. But, she's using all types of examples. By the way, complete misrepresentations of what the Biden administration, has as far as intent when it comes to women's rights in this country. And in fact, it is actually Republicans that are trying to take women back to pre-1970 levels on pretty much every aspect of society. It's not Democrats that are trying to take women back to back to the civil rights era when it comes to the key points in American society. It's a completely ridiculous notion again, and hypocrisy comes into play when you're talking about this young woman.
Makes absolutely no sense, but again, this is where so many on the far right are today, where they'll talk about the Bible, they'll preach God, and I don't understand this part of it, and I want to get into this with you guys, because there's not many Division I college athletes in all of college sports that are born a man, transitioned to a woman that are competing. There are some. There are not many. I think there's like 30.
And we would all agree, I think, in this room, right, that it should not be happening, right?
Right.
That it should not be a thing. I mean, I don't know what Mo's take is on this,
Explain,
but Brian, you and I agree on this.
explain
Yeah.
to me, and maybe I'm asking the wrong people here, what this woman means when she says the Biden administration is attacking women and our children.
And grooming
like,
children.
what is she
Grooming
talking
kids.
about? Is she
Yeah.
just watching Newsmax? Is she just listening to Three-Toe, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like, what is she talking about? What specific policy? What? Because we don't want transgenders and people who are gay discriminated against? Wow, what a horrible idea that is. I don't understand. What are they talking about? What has Biden done to attack women? This is the same person who supports Donald Trump, who's literally physically attacked women. Like, what is she talking about?
Well, you're just highlighting the double standard, Brian. You're highlighting the hypocrisy that we're talking about right now. There's no question about it. And look, I don't, and I'm not going to speak to things that I don't know specifically about when it comes to details. Okay, so I don't know exactly what she's referring to with respect to Title IX, right, and the Biden administration and what they've been circumventing or what they've changed regarding Title IX. I'm not going to speak exactly specifics, but I will say this in general: the idea that you're going to attack Joe Biden and the Biden administration with respect to women's rights in America, right? And women to have bodily autonomy and just women's rights in general over the Republican Party. You're going to attack Joe Biden? I mean, to me, that just it's so mind-blowing, and it makes my head want to explode hearing that woman talk about that in that fashion. Again, it's what I just talked about. She misrepresents what the Biden administration has done and offers nothing as far as concrete, what you just asked for, Brian. She offers nothing as far as concrete things that the Biden administration has done that is detrimental to women's rights in this country and moving forward.
So I'm trying to get everything straight. So Biden is responsible for the deterioration in our schools and holding women's rights down. He's also responsible for the judicial system and judges and courts hearings that are, he's control of that also. What else is he control of?
And right, Mo? And by the way, Brian, in 3.5 years, he's been able to do that,
That's
right,
amazing.
Mo? 3.5
Yeah.
years, Joe Biden, as a bumbling, senile old man, has been able to somehow have that type of impact on our American justice system, on our education system in America, on our kids in America, and on our women in America, Brian. It's amazing. Someone who's absolutely either senile or has completely lost it and has no business being in the White House making any decisions whatsoever has been that impactful, Brian Shapiro, when it comes to Joe Biden in the last 3.5 years. It's unbelievable, right, guys? Unbelievable to have that amount of impact.
It is.
In that short period of time.
That's malarkey.
So we've been covering a lot
Listen,
here.
that's malarkey.
Of course, day 5 of the hush money trial. Opening statements have been made. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your phone calls on the other side. I just wanted to play a little bit of Elizabeth Helgeline. And I will say this. There are some Republicans that are willing to come on this show. At least I have respect for the fact that they're willing to have a debate, and they understand that I'm probably going to, get into a discussion and a debate with them, sometimes heated. Former North Las Vegas Mayor John Lee. Don't always agree with him, but he's a decent man. He's coming back in studio Wednesday. Some of his Republican opponents have decided they don't want to do this show. John Lee is coming back on this show. He knows we're going to get into a debate. But and he's going to, that's the seat that they're running against Stephen Horsford, Democrat. I respect people that are at least willing to have a debate. There are a lot of MAGA Republicans that will not do this show. They won't come in studio. They won't sit across from me face to face and have a debate. Some will. I give them credit for that. Nobody's forced to come on this show. Nobody has to come on this show. I'm not important. I'm not going to take the Tucker Carlson approach, right? Oh, you're a coward if you don't come on this show. But just don't lie. Don't say you don't want to do the show because you don't want to be attacked. Don't say you don't want to do the show, for reasons that are not true. If you don't want to do the show, just say you don't want to do it. Don't lie. I mean, there's a guy, Victor Jocks, I think his name is. He was on the jockstrap of Ron DeSantis. He's a right-wing, he's not a journalist. He calls himself a journalist. He does these right-wing echo chamber shows here in town. He did my show once. We had a debate. I was respectful to him. He said, things are crazy. I'm sorry, I can't come back on. Meaning, I'm a coward, and I will call him a coward.
He's so busy, Brian.
Yeah. I'm a coward.
He's such in high demand.
Yeah, and I just want to go in my safe space with so many of these MAGA Republicans. But I do appreciate John Lee coming back in studio Wednesday. For the MAGA Republicans out there that don't want to do this show, you don't want to be challenged, so go ahead and do your right-wing echo chamber fluffer interviews. Congratulations. Go ahead and do that.
And here's and you hit it on the head. Respectable, good guy, good person. That's what we want, right? In our representatives and our president, someone that's respectful, doesn't attack people on their looks, someone that talks about facts, not whatever he thinks are facts. We want somebody that's respectable and not on X, TikTok, whatever, attacking judges, their daughters, everybody you can think of as bullying people. That's not what we want represented. We can have discussions and heated discussions, but we don't have to be disrespectful for each other.
No question.
And I also had another question. So Chris and I don't have to be here?
I definitely didn't say that. So
guys, by
here's
the way, and Shap said he wasn't important. He just said he wasn't important on the air. You just said that.
I'm not one of those people.
It's your show.
I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people like to do the things that Tucker Carlson does. I'm forgetting her name sadly, but she served this country honorably. She lost both her legs in war. She's a Democrat, and she didn't want to do Tucker's show, and he called her a coward. And here's a woman who served this country honorably.
Shameful.
But anyway,
Disgrace.
here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to take your phone calls. We're talking about day 5 of the Donald Trump hush money trial. Opening statements have been made. We are going to get your thoughts on that. We have one phone line open if you would like to be a part of the show at 702-221-7283. We're having some technical difficulties with our phone lines. We just had some people on the line, and then we lost them. So we're having some technical difficulties with our phone lines. But we'll try to take some phone calls when we come back. 702-221-7283. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together, we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday, a very busy news day. Luckily, nobody's lit themselves on fire outside the courthouse today, but it is day 5 of the Donald Trump hush money trial. We've had opening statements. Prosecutor Colangelo, defense opening statement as well, and we're taking your calls at 702-221-7283. All right, let's get right into it. We got Paul McKeskey, Chris Wynn in studio.
Paul McKeskey.
Yes, let's start off with Patrick. Patrick is first. Hello, Patrick.
Yo, Brian, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, you were talking about just moments ago. I wanted to get your thoughts on the what took place outside the courthouse last week when the Biden supporter burned himself on fire, and it appears that, cult-like behavior, and kind of verifies what most on the right believe, that the left is a death cult set on death and destruction. Am I right?
That's a very intelligent take, Patrick.
So wait a minute, you had somebody that was just a crazy person that lit themselves on fire outside of the courthouse, so that determines what
Patrick is that
the ideology of Democrats out there, Brian?
Patrick,
is that what Patrick trying to say?
Patrick, is that a serious question?
Yeah.
Well, you posted a video about the cult-like behavior of Trump supporters setting themselves on fire, but it wasn't a Trump supporter. It was a Biden supporter. Was it not?
So you just characterized.
And that's why you deleted that tweet.
Are you going to let me answer, or are you going to interrupt? Which one is it, Patrick?
Well, why'd you delete the tweet, man? Leave it there for records.
So, Pat, no, I'll jump in, Pat.
Okay.
So
Pat, Chris isn't going to let me answer either.
No, here's
okay.
Brian. Here's the thing. Okay, so the reason that when I say we, I'm talking about Brian and those of us who do believe that, yes, you MAGAs and you Trumpers exhibit cult-like activities is because you do, Patrick, all right? Because you guys, okay, yes, I'm saying
like
you guys make statements about Donald Trump that refer to him in ways that that cult followers make to cult leaders, saying that Donald Trump's the only one that can fix things, saying that he's the only guy that can essentially save this country, making statements like that. And so so Patrick, let me juxtapose that for you, okay, against what we. And I say we, I'm talking about Democrats when it comes to Joe Biden. We don't talk about Joe Biden that way, all right? We're not out there talking about how Joe Biden can fix everything. Well, no, but what I'm saying is factually accurate. I don't know if you want to listen to it or not, but that's fine. You're going to have to if you're going to listen to the show, all right? There is a clear difference between how you MAGA people and you Trumpers address and deal with Don, okay, and we Democrats deal with Joe Biden. There's a clear distinction, and there are multiple ways that, and I pointed out a couple of them, that you can make that distinction.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
Was there a question
you
for me?
think the mutilation
Hold on a second.
Of
Hold on a
children
second.
And putting
Hold on a second.
Women,
hey, Patrick.
Women's bathroom is not cult-like behavior.
Okay.
You're a bunch of sickos.
Okay, so first of all, Patrick, let's start from square one because I think you asked me a question and I didn't have the opportunity to answer it. Would you like to ask it again?
Well, now that we know it wasn't a Trump supporter and it was a Biden supporter, what do you think about that cult-like behavior that you're so concerned about?
Okay, so let me start from square one. First of all, there's no evidence that he voted for Joe Biden. So when you say Biden supporter, you're wrong, and there's no evidence of that. There's also no evidence that he supports Donald Trump. When I put my tweet out, which, by the way, I deleted because I was wrong, and unlike you, I'm able to admit when I'm wrong about something, and that's why
you still got one on there.
Excuse me, I'm not done answering. If you interrupt me again, I'm hanging up the phone. I'm answering your question honestly, something that you never do, and I'm answering it directly, something you never do. So shut up.
Well, get to it.
So shut up. Okay, have a nice day. If you're gonna be like that, you're not gonna be on my show. Now, it was a deranged individual with no political affiliation that lit himself on fire. But my point still stands, which is, if people are willing to light themselves on fire that are deranged, then what else are they willing to do? And if you're going to make the case that it's the left that's doing all this stuff, well, I bring you back to January 6th. I bring you back to the Texas El Paso shooter that shot people because they were brown, and Donald Trump was in his manifesto. White supremacy is a real thing, and unlike Tucker Carlson, it is not a hoax. It is a real thing, and many of those people proven in a courtroom were from right-wing fringe groups on January 6th that beat police officers, and the left isn't mutilating kids. You are a moron for making that statement. Have a nice day, MAGA Patrick. You have an IQ of about 15. Donald Trump was talking about you when he said, I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'd still support me. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mark is next. What's up, Mark?
Hey, thank you guys for letting me come on. I have a question, and Patrick, this is kind of like directed towards you because I just listened to your asinine comment just now. And this is coming from a 20-year combat medic who served in the Army in the two Gulf Wars. Have you ever seen anybody walking down the street with a hat or a shirt that said, I'm a veteran, or it shows their military insignia of where they served or what branch they served. Have you ever said to them or walked up to them and said, thank you for your service? And this goes for any of you MAGAs out there.
Yeah, amen.
And then turn around and vote for Donald Trump after you wished these people or told these people, thank you for your service, and then turn around and thank Donald Trump. And after hearing that Donald Trump called John McCain a loser, called all military personnel suckers, you're going to turn around and vote for a guy like that?
Listen, first
who
of all,
got out of serving and got his daddy?
You are 150% correct, and I try to remind people, and they're very forgetful, right? These MAGA followers, calling our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers. You heard what he said about John McCain. This is a guy who dodged the military multiple times, but because they have such a dislike for Joe Biden, or maybe they believe that he's attacking women and children, which, by the way, he's on trial, and he was already found liable for sexual battery, but yet this is the guy. Thank you for your service. I will never forget people like you and what you've done for this country. Chris Wynn also served, and you all are heroes as far as I'm concerned. Whether you're Ron DeSantis or whether you're John McCain, whether you're a Democrat or Republican is irrelevant. I don't like Ron DeSantis as a person, but I will always respect his service to this country, and I appreciate your service as well, sir. Thank you so much. And he's absolutely right.
Well, there's no question. Look, there is a fundamental misunderstanding by a lot of people in America when it comes to patriotism. They don't understand it, right? And then there's some people that quite frankly, they have a demented view of what patriotism is. And the caller just described that. Those individuals out there that can go to the face of veterans, right, and say to them, thank you for your service, and they have some idea in their head that they are some ultra patriotic person that loves the United States of America, and then they flip it in their head and they say, hey, I'm going to support Donald Trump because I believe. They have a belief, Brian Shapiro and Paul McKeskey, that Donald Trump somehow symbolizes being a patriot and being someone that sides with veterans who have signed on the dotted line to fight for this country. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And when you bring this up to somebody that's a MAGA Trumper supporter, what they will say, because when you can't deny that he said it, then what you say, well, you know what, he was just kidding. Or that's taken out of context.
Exactly. Yep.
Or that's not what he really meant. Believe it, people. He means what he says.
Or, Mo, what will they do? They will do this. They will turn it and they will flip the script and they will play whataboutism. And they'll talk about how, well, these Democrats, did this, this, and this. That makes them unpatriotic, right? That's exactly what they'll do. They'll flip it to a Democrat, a Joe Biden, a Barack Obama or someone like that. And they'll say, oh, this person did this, this, and this, which is unpatriotic. As an excuse for Donald Trump, right? So I mean, it's you got to be on your toes when you deal with people, because you got to literally be on your toes, because they'll come at you with whataboutism till the cows come home.
Oh, it happens all the time. And Patrick, when you're going to call into the show and you ask me a question, keep your mouth shut and let me answer it. That's not being rude. It's being rude when you interrupt somebody. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gary. Gary, what's up?
Hey, Gary.
Hey, happy Monday to you guys.
Thank you.
Happy Monday.
What's on your mind, Gary?
Everything and nothing. I'm a veteran. Chris is a veteran. Mo is a veteran. And I just want to say that...
Wait, Mo, you're a veteran?
I'm an NBA veteran.
I'm a veteran of
He's
the
an NBA veteran. Yeah.
Oh, if I'm mistaken, he's a veteran of life.
Yeah, thank
he's
you.
definitely that.
Thank you. That's right, baby. Yeah, thank you.
Gary, who are you voting for president? Be honest. Gary,
I should be telling...
Gary, who are you voting for president? I'm putting you on the spot. Who are you voting for?
I can't vote for Donald Trump. He's too nice of a guy. But as a veteran, if he had said...
It's a comedy hour, chap. Comedy hour.
Were, losers and suckers in World War I, the war to end all wars, then they were losers and suckers to go over there because
Gary,
rich people sent them over
Gary,
there.
who do you think is the worst Republican on the planet?
On the planet?
Yeah.
I know, no, but I like John Lee. I like him a lot.
He's a good guy.
And
yes.
I wish he would be the mayor of Las Vegas, and I wish he would...
John's a nice guy. Gary, I appreciate
He wanted to do something about the motor vehicle department.
You're right.
I want him to do something about the seats at the bus stops. There's no seats. and on and on. And I want to vote for somebody.
We want
who
somebody.
stop
We
making
want.
my
We want.
phone
We
ring.
want somebody who's attacking. We don't want somebody that's attacking our women and children, because according to the Republicans, Joe Biden is attacking our women and children. He's attacking Christians. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Thank you for your service to this country, Gary. We certainly appreciate you. Obviously, he's being, I would imagine, a little bit facetious when he says that I can't vote for Donald Trump because he's too nice of a guy. It is interesting. There's some people on social media that are saying I'm the rude one. When people call into a show and they ask a question and then they don't allow me to answer the question and they interrupt me, I get a little fired up at that, because that's pretty rude, if you ask me. I don't know, am I wrong?
Or they frame.
Let me interrupt. Let me interrupt
Yeah,
you, Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The problem is, and I found this in coaching. I look back to coaching, and I would tell players all the time, you're listening to me, but you're not hearing me. You're not hearing what I'm saying. So what happens with most people is they ask you a question, but in their mind, they're not waiting for your answer.
Right.
They're waiting for a retort to your answer. Yeah. So that's what happens a lot.
Difficult to do that. All right, let's go to your favorite caller, Mo. Let's go to Julie, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Julie?
Hello.
Hello,
everyone.
Julie.
Happy Monday.
Good morning, Julie.
Brian, hello. Is there a possibility that you can bring the video, the clip where when Trump said that the veterans are suckers and losers? Is there a possibility that you can play it in your program?
So the reason why I say he said that is because 3 generals that were with the President of the United States that were working for him are all on the record. 3 of them that served this country honorably, that risked their life for this country, that served within the Trump administration, all said that Donald Trump said that to them. So I'm going to believe them, and I don't need audio when I have 3 generals that worked under Donald Trump when he made that statement, which, yes, I believe he did. So if you don't want to believe those generals and you want to believe Donald Trump, who lied 30,000 times when he was president, Julie, you can go ahead and have that opinion. But I happen to believe the generals.
If someone said something about you,
if there were 3 generals, that worked, hold on, I know where you're going with this.
Destroy.
Hey, Julie.
If something wants to destroy
if I had 3, by the way, there's no evidence that the 3 generals.
Don't you believe that people can lie?
Julie, don't you believe that people can lie? Okay, Julie, here's the way I'm going to respond to this. If I had 3 people that worked underneath me, that served this country honorably, that, by the way, I hired, and all 3 of them on the record claimed that I said something, I would probably believe them as well. So if you think these 3 generals, hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done yet. Potter down. So you need the clip. Okay. So on one hand, Julie believes that Donald Trump won the 2020 election with no evidence of widespread voter fraud. She doesn't need any evidence there. But when you have 3 generals that worked for Donald Trump that have all said on the record that Donald Trump called brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers, now all of a sudden Julie needs to hear the audio and she needs the proof. Hey, Julie, if Donald Trump is a convicted felon, will you still vote for him if a jury finds that the evidence proves that he's a convicted felon? Will you still vote for a convicted felon, or will you make more excuses?
In New York City, he's not going to have a fair trial.
Gotcha. Okay, Julie, thank you for the phone call. It's a very intelligent take.
Brian, I'll give Julie one example of Donald Trump being unacceptable and making absurd and terrible comments regarding veterans. It's called John McCain. The comments that he made regarding him being captured. You know what? I respect people that weren't captured. All right? That is all you need to hear from Donald J.
Good
Trump
point, yes.
to get an indication of his mindset when it comes to veterans and respect for veterans.
Well,
that comment right there, that should have disqualified him from running for president. Unfortunately, we all saw what happened. It didn't disqualify him. In fact, people just kind of ignored it. But that's all you need to hear, Julie, if you want actual video and audio evidence of what Donald J. Trump feels with respect to veterans.
Well, you also wasn't he in Russia with Putin on camera?
Yep. Yes.
And he believed that Putin was not lying to him, and that he trusts Putin over the generals and his own security people that told him the intelligence. So he said that on camera. So Julie, if you want to look, you can see that. So you know where Trump is coming from. He would believe Putin,
but again,
over his own people that he hired.
But Mo, I'm going to take the right-wing approach here, but let's forget about all that stuff. Joe Biden's a pedophile. He sniffs kids. He's in the bunker, and it's an attack on women and our children.
And he does it. And Joe Biden just letting transgender men walk into women's locker rooms.
Yeah,
you know that?
That's
you know that?
That's what's going on.
That's what he's
too.
doing too.
All willy-nilly. You can just do it.
Yeah, he does it.
So ridiculous.
The Democrats just don't care. They just don't care.
Yeah.
If that happens.
Yeah, but Joe Biden's the pedophile,
man.
though.
Yeah.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next. What's up, Paul?
Hey, bud. Hey, I want to share this quick story with you, and it has to do with this nonsense. I think the last caller, I think she was dropped on her head when she was a baby or something. I don't know. Something's wrong with her.
We feel bad.
She doesn't want to hear anything. Yeah, I do. I think she needs to get help. So I was delivering beds. I'm in California, and we build these beds for kids that don't have beds in California through my church, and it's a really good organization. And I'm talking to this guy, and kind of find out he's this MAGA guy, right? And we're talking, and I'm like, okay, just so I'm clear, you know that Trump was found guilty of raping Jean Carroll. Yes. I'm like, and you don't have a problem with that. He's like, yeah, it's wrong, but he gave me 3 Supreme Court justices. I'm like, wait a minute. You're sitting, like, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. And I think this is the problem with getting through to Trump supporters. I asked him 4 times, just so I'm clear, you're sitting here telling me about how gay people are sinners and they're all going to hell and how it's wrong, and you're talking to me about family values, but you're going to vote for this guy that had sex with a porn star and raped a woman because you like his policies. Am I understanding you correctly?
Well, one thing they'll say, one caveat though to that, they will say this. They'll say it was a civil trial. It wasn't a criminal trial. They'll absolutely toss it out.
He didn't even do that.
But I agree with you. No question.
But he didn't. He wasn't one of those that was like, oh no, it's not this. Oh, that's not what he meant. He knew that it was wrong. And he's like, yeah, it was wrong. I'm like, you know, like her life was ruined because of this. He's like, yeah.
Wait, hold on a second.
What I wanted.
Paul, can you hang on one second? Hang on, Paul. I think we have Elizabeth Helgeline on the line, and she wants to defend Trump. Elizabeth, what do you have to say about this?
I want to share today's Bible verse with you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God.
Oh, God.
All right, everyone. Have a great week.
Oh, my
and remember to put on the
All right,
full
everyone.
armor of God.
Buy my Bible, please.
Sorry, I had to say that, Paul. I'm sorry. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that phone call.
But look, we don't want to be we don't want to be portrayed here though like we're mocking people that are people of faith. Okay?
Oh, I'm mocking Elizabeth.
Okay.
No,
okay.
No, I will. No, I will.
You will?
No, here's what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean,
no.
Okay.
Hear me out on this.
Okay, I'll hear you out. Yeah.
I'm going to mock you.
Yeah.
If you support a liable sexual abuser and you want to talk about your faith, I am mocking you.
Yep.
You're an idiot. You are a hypocrite. You are voting for a man who sexually abuses women, proven liably in court. You are voting for a man who 26 women accused of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife, in court documents under oath in a deposition. I don't want to hear about your faith. You're an idiot and you are a hypocrite. Yes, I don't care what faith you have. I respect that. You can believe in the tooth fairy for all you want, but if you're going to support a guy that is a liable sexual abuser and you want to preach God, you are a hypocrite.
But they did. But Brian, they did. There was like millions of them that did do that in 2016 and in 2020, and they're going to do it again in 2024. Guys, I mean, I'm not breaking any news here. There are millions of people out there, all right, that are going to vote for Donald Trump in 2024.
Mo, am I wrong on this? Come on, you're such a nice guy, Mo.
Chap, you're very fired up.
I'm usually in here on Thursdays. It's a little more chill. Monday, we are on DEFCON 10 right now. I love it.
He was right there.
Yes, Paul, go ahead.
Rant. Yeah.
So listen, I've been a Christian since I was 17.
Okay.
And any person that thinks that Donald Trump is a Christian needs to go see a psychiatrist.
Agree.
Nothing that he has done. And everyone goes, hey, Paul, don't judge. Well, how am I supposed to judge if somebody's healthy relationship? How are you supposed to judge a Christian? Yeah. Oh, maybe Hitler was a Christian. Yeah. Who am I to judge Hitler? Listen, because of what he did was wrong.
But Paul, Joe Biden is the pedophile. You know, he's the one attacking women and our children. Yeah. He's the one attacking our children.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
But
it is.
And here's the reason we are where we are is the evangelical church for decades is really the root cause of this. If you really look at it, they have somehow intertwined patriotism and their Christian faith, and it's disgusting. And the fact that every pastor in this country won't speak out against it when he put a piece of paper that was written by slave owners in the Word of God is absolutely disgusting.
What do you think
and
is more?
deplorable.
What's more dangerous for children? Drag queen reading or going to church? What's more dangerous
Ryan,
for
I
children?
live in California. Guess what? My kids have never seen a drag queen. They've never been to a drag show.
Yeah.
They go in the boys and girls bathroom. Guess what? They're not indoctrinated.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely, these people hide behind religion. And when's the last time you saw, listen, I'm just going to give an example and I'll let you, when Jesus, you don't have to believe in Jesus. This really upsets me because I grew up with a dad that was abusive. And then for 1 hour on Sunday, he would sit in church and pretend to be this great man of God because he wanted everyone to think that he was a Christian while he was at home, beating my mom and my brother and I.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's
another example of hypocrisy, right? Yeah, another example of hypocrisy.
It's this hypocrisy of evangelicals who want everybody to do what they want. But when Jesus was on the cross, did he say, "I will be your retribution"? No, he said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Well, listen, all I want. By the way, Paul, I appreciate your call, my friend. Great call. I just want Donald Trump to hold up a Bible upside down when he walks out of the courtroom. That's all I'm hoping to do. And then Elizabeth can preach God. That's what we want. Let's go to Annie. Annie is next. What's up, Annie?
Hey, Annie, this is one of your favorite Jews who loves you. Happy Pesach.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I love the guest. Now, the art of listening has been flunked and failed by megas for sure. And also, I want to get I wanted to get a take with your guest. Okay, relating to veterans.
Yeah.
I know two veterans who we all appreciate. I thank everybody. Two of my friends are veterans who are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Explain to me how that is. I can't wrap my head around it. I love them, but I'd like to get some feedback. It would be lovely to hear from all three of you.
Well, the only thing I will say, and then I'll let them take the floor here, is there's a new commandments that I've been writing, and one of them happens to be thou shalt not raw dog a porn star 2 months after your wife has a child. That's one of the new commandments for me, but I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Mo, Chris. Sorry, Annie.
Well, as the resident Democrat here and the resident veteran here in the studio, I'll make this comment. I mean, I don't have all the answers as to why MAGA supporters who are veterans would support Donald Trump. I will just say this. It's my experience, and it's my opinion, that it's not necessarily because they love the way Donald Trump treats veterans or their image in their head that Donald Trump is some great patriot. It's more about how they want to portray Democrats, really. I think veterans that are Republicans want to portray in their heads Democrats being just awful for veterans and veterans issues. I think that's more of the reason why you get a lot of the people that are on the right ideologically wise, right? That would support Donald Trump. It's not necessarily about we think Donald is represents us as veterans. It's more about what they believe Democrats do not do.
Mo, what do you say?
Yeah, and I really, because I mentioned it before, listening and hearing are two different things, and most people don't hear what people are saying, but that's why, because I've had discussions I'm a Christian with Christians and other people that are just overlook whatever Trump has done, said, implied, and they just don't want to hear that, and that's why I call it also a cult, because if you're in a cult, first of all, you believe anything your leader says, no matter what it is. Even if it's poisonous Kool-Aid, you should drink it. Even though you know you're going to die, you should drink it. And that's why the cult implications come out. And, I don't remember, I'm 67 years old. I don't remember ever having another president's hats, flags, stickers, Bibles, tennis shoes, cups, bobbleheads, anything.
Whole wardrobes?
Wardrobes.
Yeah,
I don't remember that, and that goes with respect. But as far as, I just don't think they're not going to hear whatever you have to say, no matter what the facts say. And that's why you get, it's fake news, or they divert you and say, well, what about this and what about that? Because they don't want to answer the specific
I have
thing.
conspiracy theorists going after me every day. Annie, it is great to hear from you, and I appreciate your phone call.
Thank
dear.
you all
Thank
for
you.
your perspectives. It was
Sure.
excellent.
Thank you, Annie.
Bravo.
Even,
Bravo.
Even my perspective on the second verse of the Ten Commandments I put in there.
Solid, right?
We had a bunch of commandments. I remember we did that.
We
the other
did.
day, yeah.
Let's go to Nellie. Nellie is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Nellie.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Nelly, what's going on?
Happy Passover to you gentlemen.
Is it Passover? I don't even.
Happy Passover.
Yes, it's the first day of Passover.
Happy Passover.
Come on, Chris.
Okay.
What you
I'm
got?
in the dark.
What you got for me, Nellie? What's going on?
What's the word?
Well, you're saying that Biden isn't against women. I think you are mistaken. The new Title IX rewrites, he is totally against women.
Okay, specifically, tell me why. What's in there that you think is against women?
Men can take academic scholarships and athletic scholarships from women if they identify as women.
Okay, so there's there's specific language in there. He is not saying that he thinks it is okay if you're born a man, transition to a woman, to compete in college athletics or high school athletics. He does not say that. What he specifically says in there is that he doesn't want people to be discriminated against if, in fact, they identify as a woman. That is a difference from saying that born a man, transition to a woman, you should be allowed to compete in the octagon or the boxing ring or so on and so forth.
You could still take a scholarship from a woman.
Okay, so taking a scholarship is very different from Joe Biden saying that he thinks anybody identifying as a woman should compete against born women on the playing field. What you're saying are two completely different things, and I want to be very factually accurate.
This is the new rewrite of Title IX.
And the rewrite of Title IX, it's protecting transgenders against discrimination, which is very different from you claiming that Joe Biden thinks that.
If you're a man,
okay,
you're letting. I'm not done yet.
Okay, keep going.
Men will also have full access to bathrooms, locker rooms. That's crazy. If you identify as a woman, if you're a state school.
So do you
like,
think?
oh,
Okay,
you
so
can't be
okay,
cool
so
with
let
this.
me. Okay, so let's go with that for a moment. Let me ask you a question. Can you give me the statistics that prove that transgenders are sexually assaulting people in bathrooms more likely than a person that is not transgender? Can you please show that?
I never said that.
Okay,
so you just use the wording though. No, I'll chime in here. So you use the wording right regarding they have access. What exactly are we talking? So that's, by the way, I think there's a lot of bathrooms in America, correct me if I'm wrong, that are actually both sexes, right? So it's access to a bathroom isn't necessarily insinuating that there's something nefarious going on,
In
right?
Europe,
or that
everywhere in
there's
Europe.
Yeah, like
Everywhere
it's
in
not.
Europe.
So Mark, it's not really necessarily something that's criminal, right? It's just it's access.
brought up
access
a
is not
good
something
point.
that is
brought-
some horrible thing that is unacceptable.
Mo brought up a good
Yeah.
point. This has been going on in Europe
Yeah.
for years. Can you show me the statistics in Europe where transgenders are just committing sexually assaults left and right? I'll answer.
I never said. I never.
Okay,
I
so
never said that.
what's your problem with that?
Why are you complaining about then?
What's your
Understand
problem
why
with
you're
it?
complaining
They're allowing this.
They allowed it
And
in
also
Europe.
Students.
So what?
And also
so
students,
what?
And students and faculty must be compelled with their speech to refer to the pronouns of what they're referred to being referred
Okay,
to as.
so let me go.
Nelly, here's the deal. We all live in the same country, all of us in this room and the caller,
that
Nelly.
cool?
Okay, so here's the deal. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not illegal
You're
for a
wrong.
man to walk into a
wrong.
women's bathroom in the United States of America. Is it illegal? Is it illegal in the country to do that?
It should be.
Are you asking me?
Okay, so I mean, I'm just trying to make
Mo,
a
you
point
wanted
here,
to
Nelly.
chime in.
Nelly, I'm
Mo,
trying to
you
make
wanted
a
to
point
chime
here.
in. Go
Is
ahead.
it illegal to walk
Let
into a
Mo chime
bathroom
in.
and to go to take a
three on
pee
one,
in
by
a
the way.
woman's
Yeah,
bathroom?
So here's my take on.
I'm trying to make a point. Yeah.
On the locker room thing also, because obviously I've been an athlete for a long time. I've been a coach for 23 years, and access to a locker room for a head coach, assistant coach, a trainer that are males in a female team are allowed. They're just given the right time. Okay, you guys can come in.
Exactly.
Also, with two people we have right here, sitting here, with reporters.
Yeah.
Women reporters go into men's locker rooms.
All the time.
Men reporters go
Correct.
into ladies' locker rooms like the Aces here. You just have to do it in the right way.
Here's my problem, okay, with what you're saying, Nelly. So you're
Well, what's
making
the
it
problem?
as a horrible thing, right? These locker rooms and these bathrooms. And I ask you a question, which is, like, for example, if I go on the record of saying how these AR-15s are bad for the country, and you ask me, well, Brian, where's your evidence? And I'll give you evidence. I'll give you these mass shootings like took place in Las Vegas. I'll say, well, if he didn't have an assault weapon.
Brian, we're not talking about AR-15.
No, he's making an example.
If you
Nilly,
can just
Nilly,
listen.
calm down.
It's a terrible
If you can
example.
just.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a perfect
It's not
example,
my
actually.
fault
Yes.
that maybe you're not
Yes.
smart enough to
Yes.
understand
It's a
what
perfect
I'm saying.
example. Just listen.
Okay?
Okay? Let him
when
finish.
I bring up something that I think is bad in society, for
Yes.
example, if I say speeding is bad, drunk driving is bad. Oh, Brian, where's your
Gives
evidence?
examples, evidence.
Where's your evidence that drunk driving
Yes.
is bad? I can give you examples. Look at Henry Ruggs III,
Yeah.
okay? When you bring up the example,
We're not talking about
will
that,
you
Brian.
just
Let him
We're talking
finish.
about
listen?
Nilly, let him
Will
finish.
you be quiet
Yeah.
and listen?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to analogy that to what you are saying. You're making it like it's the devil and it's horrible and all these kids
Criminals
are
everywhere.
criminals
Yep.
everywhere that are going into these gender-neutral bathrooms or locker rooms. And I ask you a very specific question. Where is your evidence
And you have none.
that transgenders are going into bathrooms and assaulting kids at a higher rate than if you're born a man, you're a man. If you're born a woman. Can you show me those statistics? Your answer is no. I'm not saying that. And my response to you is, if you have no evidence that it's actually hurting children and all these sexual assaults are happening, then why the hell do you have a problem with it? I think you have a problem with transgenders. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
I've never said that.
Then why do you
I
have a
said the
problem with
problem-
it if you don't have any
But
evidence?
you're the one that brought it up.
that-
You brought this issue up, though. So it's
that
pretty
men
clear that you
are
do.
taking the new rewrite of Title IX, which is not Title V, by the way, if you know your Roman numerals.
Who said Title V?
Men are
I
being
said that.
able
I made a
to
mistake.
take.
It's Title IX.
One of the callers.
All right.
Okay. Men could take academic and athletic scholarships from women if they identify as a woman. You don't have a problem with that?
What I have a problem with is people that say they have an issue with something, and then when I ask them for evidence to back up their ridiculous, bigoted opinion, they don't have evidence to back it up. Like, for example, when Republicans complain about drag queen reading, which I'm sure you think is just bizarre and weird and it's hurting children and indoctrinating our kids, yet you don't give me any evidence of one child that's ever been negatively affected by going to a drag queen reading. It's the entire platform
never said anything
of the
about drag
Republican Party.
And then also you say you don't understand the analogies. He's making very clear analogies and comparisons
trying
when it
to.
comes to gun violence and also speeding on the streets, right? When it comes to
These are
Henry
all the
Ruggs, and you just
bingo card
act like,
talking
oh,
points.
I don't understand the analogy. It doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible analogy. No, it's a absolutely
guys
spot on,
cool?
perfect
How
analogy
about this?
that he's making, talking about this. You don't have any evidence that there is criminal activity that is running
never said there
rampant
was.
when it comes to people going into bathrooms.
never
Okay,
said there
they're
was.
going into a bathroom
Are
to
you
go to
guys-
the bathroom. All right, it's not. It's not.
Are you
It's
guys
not the
cool
end of the
with
world
men?
if that would take place. Okay, so it's as simple as
Are
that.
you guys
Yeah.
cool with men taking academic
And then you're
athletic
phrasing
scholarships
questions
from
in this
women?
way where you say, are you guys cool with, which, by the way, is a
It's a yes or
ridiculous
no question.
misrepresentation of how to ask a
Okay,
question.
so let me answer
All right?
it. Let
It's
me
a
answer
terrible
it.
question.
Let me
It's a
answer it.
no.
Let me answer it. Can I answer it?
Go
Answer
ahead.
the
yeah.
question,
Okay.
cowards.
Absolutely.
It's a yes
Okay,
or no
so
question.
first of all, to define me
or
as
Occupy Democrats not
Are-
let you answer those questions.
okay,
We're
well,
not cowards.
okay.
We're actually
All right.
on the air.
Goodbye.
And Brian's on the airways
First of
every
all,
day.
okay, I can speak.
So,
I can speak
okay,
for
yeah,
that.
you can.
First of
Yeah.
all, I will debate anybody on this show. If anybody's the coward, it's you. I'll debate anybody on this show that disagrees with me on anything. So I'm going to answer your question, and I had to hang up on you because you kept interrupting me. I believe, and I've said this on the show, by the way, hundreds of times, and the fact that you don't know this and you listen to this show every day is beyond me, and Mo agrees with me and Chris believes with me on this. I personally believe that if you're born a man, transition to a woman, you shouldn't be competing with women on the playing field in sports. Now, with that being said, I also don't think transgenders should be discriminated against. I also don't have a problem with gender-neutral bathrooms or locker rooms, so on and so forth. I'm not a coward, and I'll answer any question that anybody poses to me. I just feel like, in my personal opinion, and Chris and Mo, based on his statements, that he has a problem with transgender people. That's what I think. I think many on the far right have a problem with transgenders. They have a problem with people who are gay, and yet these are the same people that will probably vote for Donald Trump. That's my personal opinion on that phone call. Well, we have a lot of other people waiting on hold, so maybe we can move
I think
on.
it goes without saying, though, he has an issue with transgender individuals.
Well,
And
Mo, let me ask
yes,
you a
I think
question.
he
Do
does.
you think
Yeah.
that guy has a problem with transgender people?
It would seem that you protest too much, kind of that kind of thing going on. But I could see the point, and we kind of agree that I don't want former men, performing against females.
Sure, of
you
course.
know,
Yes.
Neither do I.
and I don't. So Title IX is changing. I think it went way far on one side before. When I was at USC years ago, there were people on scholarship on the women's side that shouldn't have been on scholarship, but they had to even them out with everybody else. Yeah. So I believe in non-discrimination, but also realization that there are some strengths that former men would have competing against women, but
yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you 100% on that. And I'm just tired of people discriminating against others because your sexuality might be different.
I mean, I would say, I'm sorry, okay, when Title IX started, they took scholarships away from guys, men, to give them to the ladies' side to even everything out, and that was wrong too.
I'm
going
to make a prediction, and this is just my opinion. I think that guy who just called in is somebody that is a big Matt Walsh fan. That guy who just called in is somebody that listens to people, in my opinion, that are bigoted in nature, whether it be Candace Owens, whether it be Matt Walsh, or maybe locally, maybe they're big Jesse Law fans. I don't know. But anyway, we'll move on now. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next on PTL. What's up, Roy?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Roy.
Great show today. I want to make a couple of points. One, I want to thank you for not putting me on after Julie.
What do you mean? It would make you sound better, wouldn't it, if you went on
Make you
after
sound really
Julie?
smart.
Yeah.
You have a point there. Many on the show today have proven my point that you can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
And I think that gal today, to me, religion has no business in politics. And there is far, far, far too much religion in politics today.
Yep.
And I don't care what you believe in. Either you're a good person or you're not, period. Either you do the right thing or you don't do the right thing, and it doesn't matter what religion you are. I think it's very important today for people, because the states are so different, for people to make a determination. What state do I want to live in? What state do I want to raise my children in? What school do I want to go to? Because half the country today is crazy, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think
With
it's that
these
much,
abortion
though?
laws and all that
let's
stuff.
talk about that. So I agree with you in what you're saying. I don't think it's half the country. I'm going to give this country the benefit of the
No,
doubt.
it's probably about 35.
But
the
it's way more than before, though.
Agree.
I think that's the problem.
Agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Sure, I would say 30, maybe
Yeah,
a
but
third. Yep.
Part of the problem is the people who are making these decisions are in the minority in their thoughts.
You are correct.
Like when the Alabama Supreme Court, when the when the Arizona Supreme Court makes that ridiculous ruling, you can't tell me that the majority of people in the state of Arizona believe in that. That's bullshit.
Well, Roy, to be honest, though, you brought up religion, right? I think another main problem in our country is there's too many Americans out there that don't believe there should be a separation of church and state. There's too many Americans out there that think that that Christians should be running this country. That we should run this country, a democratic republic, by Christian principles, right?
And
they want to discriminate against other. They want to discriminate against other religions.
That's what the country was founded on, right? Separation of religion and state. Right?
Thank
That's
you.
what they tout, right, Mo?
Thank you. By the way, Roy, for the phone call. We appreciate you for calling in. Let's go to who do we got? Susan. Susan, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Susan?
Well, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. First off, the separation of church and state. Yes, that is eroding, and that scares me because I don't want to live in a religious autocracy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I personally am not a Christian, but I do have faith.
Sure.
And I don't want to have Christians shoving their beliefs down my throat.
I don't want anybody.
You know?
I don't want anybody doing that. It doesn't matter what religion you are, but it does seem like today. I agree with you, Susan. It does seem like today much of that is coming from the far right. And we have these anti-Israel protests that are taking place on college campuses, many of which are extremely anti-Semitic in nature. I'm so happy with what Penn State did, because the news just broke out where these people are not allowed on the Penn State campus. Ilhan Omar's daughter is a disgrace, and I know there are some Democrats that are, oh, Brian, but Ilhan Omar's a Democrat. Who cares? Her daughter got arrested on campus. She's an embarrassment. And anybody out there that spreads this, I know what some of you are going to say. Well, Brian, it's freedom of speech. Yeah, just because it's freedom of speech doesn't mean it's right. Okay? And
yeah,
so
freedom of speech doesn't mean you can attack people,
intimidate,
viciously intimidate.
Yeah.
You can't.
And I want
no,
more
that's
people.
Not free speech.
And I agree. And I want more people on the far left to be more vocal when it comes to this stuff. Sadly, I'll hear people like, or maybe depends which way you look at it, but I'll see a Marco Rubio or a Lindsey Graham, and I'm like, wow, I agree with them when it comes to Israel. I want to see more Democrats do the same thing when it comes to this issue, because most Democrats do. Most Democrats, and I think Joe Biden's did a fine job here. He's doing everything he can in a very difficult situation.
He's a good person.
Yes.
He's a good person.
Absolutely.
I agree so much with that.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Susan, it is great to hear from you, Susan. I appreciate your phone call, and thank you for calling in.
Well, I had one more thing to say.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
I just wanted to say that the gentleman who called and would not admit that he was against transgenders is those people scare me, because I have a child who is transgender and they are scared for their life right now.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that your child has to go through that, and that's why I go on the air every day. I go on the air every day. And I support your child. I support anybody who's transgender, gay. I don't care what the color of your skin is, where you're from. Just be a decent person and treat people as equals. Doesn't mean we all have to agree on everything, but let's treat everybody as equals. I'm with you, Susan, 150%. And just keep being a great mother, and your child's going to be just fine, okay?
Okay, you guys do a great show.
Thank you, Susan.
Have a good week, Susan.
Appreciate it.
Just the right for them to exist, right, Brian? That is what we're talking about. The right for transgenders and everybody to exist. That's what they want. It's this nonsense about wanting to turn people transgender or turn people gay. It's all BS.
That's
it's
back,
ridiculous.
That's back in the day, right? Too. So
you can't do
if
that.
You come out like that, you send them to a
Yeah.
camp and they get fixed.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Absolutely.
We're past that, people.
We are. All right, let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next on PTL. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. All right. First of all, those previous callers about who have no evidence, no facts. That's the problem with those callers right now. They're always thinking Trump is the good guy, despite the fact this guy's got so many felony counts and 4 indictments and 2 impeachments. They're still thinking about this guy, and they still want to vote for that scumbag. That's why I'd rather vote for Biden over Trump.
It's not just a problem with the callers, bro. It's also a problem in America. I've called it on this show many times, Brian. Right? The assassination of truth. That's exactly what's going on in America. There's this idea you brought up, Paul. You used that term, right? Fake news earlier on in the show, right? Where did this term fake news come from? It came from 2015.
There's no lies. It's non-truth.
Fake news is what people, especially MAGAs, think fake news is anything they disagree with, anything that may be factually accurate, but they just don't think it's happening. That's what they call fake news. Okay, it's not actual news that's inaccurate, right, or factually inaccurate. It's just stuff that they disagree with.
When Donald Trump ends up being a convicted felon, again, the attacks are going to be 2-tier justice system, Democrat judge, Democrats on the jury,
lefties going after him.
It's George Soros. I mean, I can tell you right now, that's exactly
and Biden.
Yeah, it's Joe Biden. It was his DOJ. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump loses in November. Again, the Democrats cheated, election integrity. Again, this stuff isn't going away. If those of you think it's going to go away, it's not, Joseph. And I appreciate you calling in, Joseph. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks, Joseph.
Take care.
Brian, Joe Biden is not going to get 80 million votes. It's impossible. There's no way Joe would be able to get 80 million votes in November.
Let's go to Joanna. Joanna's next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Joanna?
Hi. Watching your show. Occupy Democrats. Hooah.
Yeah, there you
Love
go.
it. Anyway, I'm about so pissed off with Trump saying that the Jan 6 people in prison are hostages. No, they ain't hostages. They ain't patriots. They're called criminals. Can we all say that together now? Criminals.
Some of them are terrorists. Some of them are terrorists. I mean, they come from
Well,
right wing. A lot of them come from right wing fringe groups who attacked police officers that day, who tried to overturn an outcome of a free and fair election. They're terrorists, but he called them patriots. He said he was going to pardon them, and yet we're supposed to believe because he goes to the wake of an officer who was murdered that somehow he's pro-police and he cares about these police officers. Yet the 140 officers that had to go to the hospital that were injured, some of whom were beaten with their own batons, their eyes attempted to be gouged out.
They lost fingers.
Yeah, but yet Donald Trump calls some of those people who attacked them, calls them patriots. He wants to pardon them. He calls them hostages.
Did you see that shit that he said the Gettysburg was a beautiful thing?
Well, yeah, he really doesn't have even second grade history. He's not. I wouldn't say Donald Trump is much of a historian. That's for sure. Maybe
is he related to Hitler or something?
Well, I'm not going to go there, but
I don't know about that.
I'm not going to go there, but I will say this: I think Donald Trump got his college degree from Trump University. That's all I can say there. A couple more quick calls, and then we got to take.
Can
a
I
break.
go to Trump? Oh wait, they folded that.
It's gone.
That's
You can't do it.
That's too bad.
Oh,
Let's
darn
go
it.
to.
So Mo, it's a part of history now. You can't.
Let's go to Kava. What's up, Kava? Did we lose Kava? Kava, are you there? Oh, okay. Hold on. We're having some technical difficulties with our phone system today. I'm going to blame George Soros for it. I think it's the Biden admin. I think it's Pete Buttigieg.
Yes.
Pete Buttigieg, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I'm taking a script from the right-wing playbook. Pete Buttigieg is messing with our phone lines. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard Chris might have had an issue.
People say.
I heard that Chris had some hemorrhoids this morning. I think that's Joe Biden's fault. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, Kava, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize. Chris did not have hemorrhoids.
Bad jokes.
Go ahead,
Bad
Kava.
jokes from Shap.
Go ahead.
As far as we know.
As far as
No,
we
okay.
yeah.
So I just want to ask MAGA a couple questions. So my first question to these MAGA people out here. So, hey, MAGA, quick question. So you guys went after Mayor Quentin Lucas of KC for inviting immigrants to Kansas City, and yet your little Republican leader in Missouri comes out and says, we don't want these migrants here. We don't want these illegal aliens here. Okay, so you guys complain about the border, but yet you allow this clown, Mike Rocco, or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
And you guys think this is funny? This is not even a game, you moron.
I don't think that's funny at all. I think talking about Chris Wynn's hemorrhoids are far more funny than anything. That's just my personal opinion. No, listen. Kava, you're absolutely right. The bottom line here is, and we could all have our differences of opinions on this hush money trial. This is not positive for Donald Trump. Even if he's not convicted of a felony in this trial, which I believe he will be, by the way, it's still bad for Donald Trump. Does it change anybody's mind when it comes to voting? I'm not so sure about that. We can debate that, but this is going to be bad for him. When Stormy Daniels testifies, when McDougal testifies, when Michael Cohen testifies, by the way, all under oath, Donald Trump he's not going to testify. I'll be shocked if Donald Trump testifies here.
Yeah.
This is bad for Donald Trump. Kava, I'm up against a hard break, my friend, but it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate your call. Thank you.
Donald Trump will testify when his wife comes and supports him in the courtroom.
Yeah, that's going to happen, right? I'm sure they'll be holding hands. Those two lovebirds, Mo.
Don't drive in the same car
I know,
with me.
right? So before we take a break, I get people all the time, every day, new callers, new people that listen to the show. I appreciate all the support. You want to support me? Support the people who support this show, besides the listeners, the advertisers, and Pioneer Air is no exception to that. With summer right around the corner, it's going to be 95 degrees today in Las Vegas. You need to make sure your air conditioning system is working. Just like an oil change on your car, you need scheduled maintenance. Guess what? I have a free gift that's worth $150 for any of my listeners right now. Here's all you got to do. You call in to Pioneer Air. You say you're a listener of the PTL show, and you just won 1 year scheduled maintenance for free. No ifs, ands, or buts, no catch. Here's the number. Ask to speak to Leo. 702-703-6346. Let me give out that number one more time. Pioneer Air has been around since the 1930s, by the way. They'll give you free scheduled maintenance of your air conditioning system for up to a year. Number again is area code 702-703-6346. Please give them a call. You could also email them info@pioneerairlv.com. All right. We do have some sports to get to coming up next, and I love this guy, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights. Dan Duva is going to be coming up next. Why? The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs start tonight. I know we're all going to be watching it. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. And how gambling has costed an NBA player his entire NBA career. We'll get to that. We'll get Mo's take on that when we come back as well. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope, the Pass the Puck contest, Vegas Golden Knights games over at Jackson's Bar and Grill. There's nothing better, right? You have an opportunity to win free slot play. The food there is great. The atmosphere is great. Brian Slipok, the owner, is a huge Vegas Golden Knights fan. He's a season ticket holder and great guy. And it's a great place to catch a Vegas Golden Knights game, particularly if you can't go to a home game or tonight if they happen to be on the road. And boy, what a big day it is for VGK hockey because it's game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs on the road against the Dallas Stars. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very intriguing series. So I said to myself, what better person to have on the show? Somebody that I love listening to when I can't attend a VGK game. Of course, it's the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights, the awesome Dan Duva, joining us right now on what is a very busy day. And Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, my friend. How are you?
It's my pleasure, Brian. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Dan. We're excited, right? This is Stanley Cup hockey. There's nothing better in the world, as you and I would say. We love it. And this is an intriguing matchup, isn't it, Dan? I mean, let me ask you this question to start. How healthy are the Vegas Golden Knights right now? It seems like they're probably more healthy now than they were for most of the season. Where are they at right now?
Yeah, in terms of who's available, this is the healthiest they have been at any point this season. And a long list of players have missed time for a variety of reasons. Knights had 3 players who did appear in all 82 games: Ivan Barbashev, Jonathan Marchessault, Braden McNabb. And if you have played all 82 games, that probably means you're banged up short of 100% in some way, shape, or form. But more notably, the players who are now available after missing significant time: William Carrier, Alex Pietrangelo, and perhaps the biggest note is Mark Stone, who suffered a ruptured spleen, and that was back on February 20th. He's been on long-term injured reserve and has started practicing with the team and declared himself good to go at this morning's skate. And Alex Pietrangelo had an appendectomy, missed the last 7 games of the regular season. So all sorts of injuries leading to big players being absent for the Knights, but everybody is present and accounted for. But that also means, Brian, that the lineup that the Knights will field today in Game 1 against the Dallas Stars will be a lineup that Bruce Cassidy has never put together. He put those guys returning from injury, plus add the acquisitions from the deadline and Anthony Mantha, Tomas Hertl, and, of course, Noah Hannafin.
That's a good point. If you're just joining us, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights, Dan Duva, Game 1 Stanley Cup playoffs, VGK on the road against Dallas. All right, let me ask you a 2-part question. Who is going to be starting in net today? Not to second-guess Coach Cassidy, who's done such an A-plus job. Who do you think should start? Who is going to be starting?
The answer is Logan Thompson. He will start. It will be his first Stanley Cup playoff appearance. He was injured during last year's run. 2 years ago, the Knights did not qualify for the playoffs. But remember last year when he was an all-star, his injury late in the season meant that he was not a consideration. He had the acquisition of Jonathan Quick. He had Lauren Brossoit from the American League. But ultimately it was Brossoit and Hilt who took the team to the Stanley Cup. Thompson was simply not available because of that injury. Well, he is healthy now. And he's played, with just a couple of exceptions late in the second half of this year. He's been terrific. At one point, he had 5 games in a row when he won all 5 and allowed exactly 1 goal. So I think that given the recent play, who's most confident in his game right now, Logan Thompson is the right choice.
Yes.
And I think Bruce Cassidy was going to go in that direction rather than simply allegiance to Aiden Hill, because he was the Knight who was in goal when the Knights won the championship. And remember, he was also a jerk last year.
Yes.
He was not available at the start of the postseason. That's why it was Brossoit backed up by Quick. But when Brossoit went down early in the second round, it was Hill who came in, had a terrific finish, 11-4 in the playoffs, won the championship, and was great against Dallas. A couple of shutouts in that series against the Stars. And he was great to start this season, but he has been hampered by injuries. The lower body injuries have been fits and starts and stops, and when he has come back, he's had a couple of good moments, but on the whole, he just doesn't look quite the same. So he says he feels good, but at this point, Logan Thompson, I think, is the right choice, and for Bruce Cassidy, that's the guy who's getting Game 1, but there's no guarantees about who will be in Game 2, 3, or 4.
Complete agreement with you. Complete agreement with the coach. Oh, yeah, by the way, Logan Thompson is an NHL All-Star last year. We know how good Logan is, and he's a great guy, and he deserves this as well. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but I agree with the decision moving forward.
Obviously, Dan, when you're talking about personnel and when you're adding pieces, right, that have not been in the mix for for weeks basically at this point. That means there's going to be some odd men out, right, Dan? Who are the guys that have been a part of this lineup really right through the end of the regular season here, leading up to the playoffs, that we're most likely not going to see both on the blue line and of course up front?
Yeah, the first significant change is that Alec Martinez is a healthy scratch, a guy who has won 3 Stanley Cups, Cup winner with the Kings in 12 and 14, then with the Knights last year. And as difficult as it might be, Bruce Cassidy now has Noah Hannafin available to play with Alex Pietrangelo. Of course, it had been Martinez with Pietrangelo during the run to last year's postseason. Alec has played in more than 800 regular season games, over 100 playoff games. But at this stage, he's 37. Noah Hannafin is 27. But that doesn't mean that you won't see Martinez at some point. You do have Haig and Whitecloud. That was the third pair last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez finds his way back into the lineup. Yeah. As the old country song goes, ain't as good as I once was, but as good once as I ever was. And Martinez is still as good as it gets when it comes to blocking shots, and he's got the experience.
Yeah.
Up front, Pavel Dorofeyev played about half the regular season games, often injured himself, got an elbow in the head from Jacob Trouba in New York. But he was really a great offensive burst. He's a great shooter. Second in goals per game for rookies, only to Connor Bedard. Not bad. And then Paul Cotter as well. Throw in Mike Amadio. Those are some guys who played a lot of regular season games for the Knights this year. But with the additions and with the help, somebody's got to come out. But I'll remind you that, Mike Amadio had a big overtime goal in the first round last year. Paul Cotter has found the consistency where he played well over 70 games this year in his second year at the NHL level, but his first really full year. This is in some sense difficult to tell those guys that you're not in the lineup, but at the same time, not too hard to decide which guys were going to come out and which guys were going to stay in. I guess the one sort of question mark might be, would Brett Howden be one of the guys to come out? Maybe put in Dorofeyev, maybe put in Amadio over Howden. But I think because Brett was so impressive during last year's playoff run, often played with Stone and Stevenson, plus he's a big part of the penalty kill. That might be the closest thing to a question mark up front, but really when you examine it and examine the history, really Brett Howden made sense to stay in the lineup.
All right, Dan, so this is a very good Dallas hockey team. I think we both would agree on that, and this is going to be a tall task, and they don't have home ice. What are your biggest concerns with this Dallas Stars team, and what do the Vegas Golden Knights need to do to win Game 1 tonight?
Very, very high level. Jake Ottinger was an all-star this year. When the Knights faced Ottinger in the postseason last year, he had played a ton of games, not only at the end of the regular season, but at that point through a couple of rounds of the playoffs, and it just looked like Ottinger was not at his best come the third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, the Knights have beaten them again this year, Vegas 3-0 against Dallas, but all of those games were back in the fall. So I wonder if the Jake Ottinger we see in this series, perhaps scarred from last year's postseason, is the word that Pete DeBoer used today, playoff scars. I wonder if because he is fresher and because it's earlier in the postseason, if he might be on his game more so than he was against the Knights last year. Away from that, this is a deep team. The Knights and the Stars might be the two deepest teams in terms of, the really effective players at the bottom part of the lineup. I mentioned this a moment ago, but you had some big goals scored by guys on the third or fourth line by the Knights last year, and the Stars can do that as well. I mean, Evgeny Dodonov is not what he once was, but he has been an all-star in this league. He's on the fourth line for the Stars. They are extremely strong down the middle, as are the Knights. Both teams have centermen who would be maybe first or second line centermen on most NHL teams who are not even playing center on this particular roster. So there's depth on both sides, particularly at the center position. Got a lot of playoff experience on both sides. And the way that these, Pete DeBoer has been a part of the Golden Knights postseason every year, whether coaching against the Knights with the Sharks the first 2 years, with the Knights for a couple of years, and then obviously coaching against them again each of the last two postseasons, including this one. So there's a lot of familiarity, a lot of experience, and a lot of depth on both sides.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, I look forward to hearing your call tonight. It's some of the best postseason in all of sports is the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and I appreciate you taking the time on a big day, Game 1.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you as always, Dan. You're the best.
And Dan and Brian, let's see if VJK can snap this home winning streak right in the NHL. Vancouver was able to kind of cap that off last night with that dramatic win.
Yeah,
we'll see if Vegas can break that streak.
We'll see. Look forward to hearing your call, Dan, tonight, and always appreciate the time. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Dan.
My pleasure. Enjoy the playoffs.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah, we all will. Dan Duve, everybody, does a great job, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights. He's the best. A very difficult job to do play-by-play for hockey, and Dan's one of the best in the business, and we appreciate his time. All right, Mo, I want to get you involved in this conversation because it's an important one. It involves the NBA. It involves gambling. A guy who will not be playing in the NBA ever again. His name is Jonte Porter. And I have an interesting story to tell you because a friend of mine was speaking to one of his agents in Vegas several months ago and told me that he got a tip from his agent that he took the under on the amount of rebounds that he was going to get. I think it was 3.5, and I didn't think much of the story except, wow, there's shenanigans going on. Apparently, some people made some huge bets on Jonte Porter's under. Why? Porter gave some information out and it was fixed, that he was going to fake an injury and be out the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. And most of these sports books, the rule is as long as you play, as long as you play at all, we have to pay you out. Now, they didn't pay out these larger bets because that raises eyebrows when somebody makes an $80,000 bet or a $100,000 bet on a weird bet like that. Eyebrows go up. And, Jonte Porter got caught. He's now never allowed to play in the NBA again. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, both of you.
Well, number one, prop bets. So the only way that he's a backup to a backup, right? So the only way to bring in guys like that of having effect on gambling is prop bets. They're over and under on minutes played, scoring, rebounds, and that's dangerous. And it's so dangerous that the NCAA is trying to ban prop bets from their games because then minor level players on your team can affect the gambling line on prop bets, over, under points, all that stuff. And I think that's dangerous because you can't get to the main guys in the NBA. They make 40, 50, 60 million a year. You can't get to them. But the other guys that are borderline G League guys making 200 grand, maybe go overseas and make a couple hundred grand, they can be bought and influenced more along those lines. And, it used to be just win-loss, point spread, then over-under, and now it's everything for everybody, and that's dangerous. And the NBA is in the middle of it because they get a percentage, and they've okayed it. They're in the middle of it. Now they need to fix it because this is the first hit that they've had and made that decision. That is a huge decision to bar someone for life.
Mo, how dumb do you have to be an NBA athlete making boatloads of money, regardless of whether you're only averaging 3 or 4 points a game? You're still making millions of dollars. And now I would imagine Jonte will probably be playing somewhere in Europe, and he'll still be making money. But he's cost himself boatloads of cash by doing something very, very stupid. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, how are you stupid enough to be a G League player for the Sacramento Kings and kill somebody? You will never play again. You'll be in prison. So some of these guys make bad decisions. But, he was a borderline NBA guy, but he's made a couple $1 million, I think, and he can go overseas and make some money. This affects overseas, though, also, Brian, because teams overseas, when you go over there, they want you part of the community. They want you part of the team. It's more than just, the team. It's everything. And for someone to bring in someone like that, and gambling overseas is huge, especially in football, soccer. So, he's really screwed up his career. I don't think he was online to make that much money, like 20 grand or whatever. But the people, like you said, put 80 grand down to make $1 million. That's just a red flag that can't be, overlooked.
And I think what's even more important is that, they would have got away with it if they didn't bet large amounts of money, right?
Yes.
I mean, they would have gotten away with it. But when you see an $80,000 bet on a weird prop from a guy that is averaging 3 or 4 points a game, it's going to raise some eyebrows. And this did not have to do with any sports books in Las Vegas. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was it FanDuel?
Yes.
This had to do with FanDuel.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird that I was actually talking to a guy that made a smaller bet on it because he heard from this guy's agent that was in Vegas bragging about the information he had.
Well, like I told you before on the show, that back in 100 years ago when I played, every year before the season they bring in FBI agents and they talk to players about this exact problem. And it doesn't go like, I'm going to, don't bet on games and don't bet against yourself. It went back to, if you run into somebody in the hotel lobby or in the elevator that asks about, in my day, Sidney Moncrief's ankle, and you tell them how it's feeling good or bad, that's information that those guys can use, and you need to be heads up. So this was not blindly gone into, Adam Silver, I'm a fan. He's doing a great job. Hard to follow David Stern and what he did from where we were in the 80s to where we are now, money and everything. But he put the hammer down, and he had to tell everybody else, if this happens, you're not going to get 5 games, 1 season. You're getting a life ban.
And I'm glad that they handled this swiftly. The investigation was quick. The evidence was overwhelming. And a part of me does also feel bad for John Tate Porter. He made a stupid mistake. Speaking of mistakes, I did make a small wager on the LA Lakers yesterday. Not because Chris bet the other side. I take full responsibility for this one. Mo, can you explain to me, and we had a conversation off the air yesterday, and you made some really good points, because I know where you're going to go with this, but LeBron James took 1 shot in the 4th quarter. Let me repeat, 1 shot. By the way, they weren't double teaming him, okay? They were allowing him to get the ball. He looked very tired. He did not look very good physically. And you could look at his numbers and say, well, wait a second. He scored 27 points. He scored 29. No, he took 1 shot in the 4th quarter. The Lakers have no chance to beat Denver if LeBron James isn't the LeBron James that we're accustomed to seeing of him. What do you make of that?
This is why in any 7-game series, basketball, hockey, whatever, you need to eliminate the opponent as fast as you can. Sweeps are really good. And what you don't want to do is have a play-in game to get in the playoffs, because that is very taxing. And LeBron has played more minutes this year, I think, than a lot of time, and he's getting older, and it's coming back to haunt him, and how much they relied on him. Finally, Anthony Davis is stepping up and holding his own and being what he's supposed to be. But they've asked LeBron to do a lot all year, and, I don't know if you've ever seen an athlete at 39 years old that looks like that and can perform like that. It's phenomenal, but there are limits, and eventually your body's going to tell you, hey, that's enough, and it's going to shut down. And that's what happens when, you see guys get cramps in a game, or they just exhausted after the game, and now you have to recuperate. Luckily, I don't think they play for another couple of days or another day. But if you have to go back to back and you're recuperating, you can't get that back. People understand when you get taxed all the way to the end, to refill your tank, so to say, very, very difficult.
But Brian, let's be extremely crystal clear here. This is a terrible matchup for the Los Angeles Lakers in this series with Denver. Yes, you pointed out that LeBron James has to be playing at peak level. And by the way, peak level 2023-24 LeBron James this year. He was solid, even at the age of 39 years old. But he's got to be playing at that level, and you got to get contributions from the likes of Austin Reeves and D'Angelo and Russell and Hachimura and these other guys. They gotta contribute at a higher level, or else they absolutely do not have a shot against the likes of the defending NBA champions in the Denver Nuggets.
I got to say this. I agree with you both. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are done, because I think their starting center is messed up physically. Let me ask you a question on that.
Wait. Did we talk about the Sixers yet or no?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Do you think that they made a mistake, the organization, in not sitting him out the last couple months? Because he is not right physically.
Yeah, I think
Joel Embiid we're talking about.
Yeah,
obviously.
Joel Embiid. Yeah. Well, the problem is they had to fight to get in the playoffs, right? So they had to fight to the end to get in the playoffs, and that's the problem that I'm talking about. But Joel, I'm 7 foot. He weighs 280. I weigh 300. My knees, I've had a knee replacement. And you could tell the way he's running. And I saw early in the game, in the play-in game, where he was at a timeout at the free throw line, or during the free throw line, grabbing his knee and looking at the bench. That's not a good sign.
Right.
And then he tried to tip dunk. Don't do that. Just lay it in, and then really ratcheted up. And, at this point, they got to think about resting him. Maybe they should have rested him the first game. Like, let's go to the Bucks series, right? They beat a really tough team last night or yesterday, whenever it was, in Indiana without Giannis. So what that does, if I'm coaching and I know Giannis needs a little more time, listen, you're not playing a game 2. We're going to see how that goes. Now, if we're 1-1, you're playing in game 3. But if we're 2-0, maybe we get another 5 days out of you. So, but Joel Embiid is not right.
Shaq, let's put our cards on the table, though, okay? Really, if you're going to talk about the Eastern Conference, unless they get Giannis back, close to 100%. This is the Boston Celtics conference to lose. I'm sorry. It just is. I hate to be Debbie Downer and, the Scrooge over here, but are we really talking about...
You're not Debbie Downer for Brian.
You know
That's his team.
I know, he's fired up about it. But I'm saying, are we really talking about other teams like the Sixers or even the Knicks are gonna compete with the likes of the Boston Celtics right now in the Eastern Conference?
No. I'm going to stick to what I said earlier. Much earlier at the beginning of the year. The Boston Celtics, in my opinion, are the team to beat. Listen, your Milwaukee Bucks, Mo, they looked really good yesterday. The key to the Boston, and I've been a Celtics fan my whole life, but I'm not trying to be biased because I didn't say this last year. I didn't say the Celtics were going to win it all last year. When you get a guy like a Drew Holiday, who is arguably the best two-way player in the world, the guy can score. We know he can shoot the three. He can create his own shot. He's physical. He can rebound. But I am just as impressed, if not more impressed, with his defense. You got a guy named Porzingis, who's a former NBA All-Star. He is tall. He can shoot the three. He's a great scorer.
Yeah, it was just 18 and 12.
It's unbelievable. And I didn't bring up Tatum, okay? I'm not bringing up Jaylen Brown. I'm not bringing up these other guys on the team.
Peyton Pritchard, baby.
Yeah, Al Horford. Al Horford is at his age can still play at a very high level.
He's in the position. He's the position where he needs to be as a backup big.
Yes, I agree with you. This is a well-coached team. I believe it's their time. Mo, I said this.
Their coach has no experience past the to the East, so wait
Shapiro.
on that.
B-Shap.
Wait on
B-Shap.
that.
Mo, Sidney Moncrief is not walking through that door, okay? Terry Cummings is not walking through that door.
What about
Paul
Jack
McKeskey is not walking through that door. Jack Sikma's not walking through that door.
All right, fine.
I'm playing.
You want to lay me a bet?
You know what's? I'm going to talk about coaching. I watched the Oklahoma City game last night. Two coaches that I don't think did a very good job. They blew timeouts. They didn't get calls. They didn't get plays run at ATOs. Coaching does matter, especially the higher up you go.
Listen. I understand what you're saying. I get it. And that could be a factor. But I'm telling you right now, you could talk Denver Nuggets, Milwaukee Bucks, top to bottom, the best team in the NBA. Forget about coaching for a moment. Just from a talent standpoint, is the Boston Celtics.
You know who's second, right? Who's second?
The Denver Nuggets.
No.
I mean, arguably the Milwaukee Bucks.
No.
No?
No. Clippers. The
Yeah,
Clippers
well,
are the
they're
most
old.
talented, deepest team. Yes, they are. Look at their roster.
And again, winning without their star player, right?
But I'm not saying they're
like
going to do
with
it.
Milwaukee.
But
Yeah.
when you look at their roster, you put their roster up against any of the rosters, they have a chance. But they haven't performed, just like the Phoenix Suns. They look great on
Phoenix
paper.
got killed.
Yeah, they look
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
And, a lot of that is Minnesota. They got two bigs on the floor. I text Chris Finch after the game, thank you for playing two bigs. Keep it up. Win something. So they threw in a wrinkle.
Yeah.
But I'm not stupid. Boston is the favorite.
You're not
for sure.
I would never say that about you. You're not a MAGA supporter. So anyway, Mr. Paul McKeskey, C-Win, thank you so much for being here on what is a very busy day. Tomorrow is going to be day 6 of the Donald Trump trial. So we're going to be covering that. We have some special guests. Remember I had Dr. Peter McCullough on the show, and InfoWars started going after me.
Infowars.com.
Yeah, there you go. And all these right-wing conspiracy theorists going after me. Well, tomorrow we have the head epidemiologist of UNLV School of Medicine, Brian Labus. He's dedicated his whole life to infectious disease. He is going to be, I guess you could say, discrediting Dr. Peter McCullough for a lot of the false things that at least I believe he said. So Brian Labus is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. So we'll be keeping track of day 6 of the Trump trial as well. Chris Wynn, Paul McKeskey, I appreciate both of you guys being here. Check out my YouTube page as we're about to go. My YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. You can check me out on my website, which is ptlradio.com, where you can personally email me questions, comments, concerns, you name it. Occupy Democrats Network, it only costs $5, a cup of coffee a month to be a subscriber there. We appreciate all of you watching us, and we know that we're going to have some charades in the courtroom, I'm sure, tomorrow, right, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Thanks to my guests for joining us, and, of course, the voice of the Vegas Golden Knights, Dan Duva. We'll see you tomorrow.